there are 7 people saying they're students and 10 people saying they are working professionals. So this is just for Natalie to know today's audience. And we have a couple more people joining. Thank you so much. And I'll hand over to Natalie.
Thank you, Cindy, for offering that beautiful introduction. And I am very grateful that we have met as well, too. When I learned about what One Healing Space was offering, I was really excited because this is what I do professionally, but most of my work is done corporate settings and also within private clients. And just recently I was speaking with a friend, and she was actually mentoring new university students. Because of COVID times, they had to quarantine, and they partnered people up with alumni so that they could kind of get comfortable in the transition. And that was actually right about the same time I met Cindy, and thinking about how I haven't been able to share mindfulness in this capacity, and how I think it's so important, especially, managing, in the university setting, and also after being, I know half and half of you are in professional life and in a university life, and wherever you are in your stage in life, there's so many moving parts. There's so many expectations. There's so many goals we want to achieve, and there's so much pressure and judgment that we put on ourselves. And so what I have found with mindfulness, and this is really has been my saving grace, is that it has taught me how to sustain, and also sustain on a level that brings me more joy and more gratitude in life. And we'll learn more about those benefits. But what I would like to also note is, with One Healing Space offering counseling and psychotherapy, I love that this has become the norm, because we all need some sort of support this way. But I also like to say, that why I think this is such a great partnership we're offering with One Healing Space is that, meditation and mindfulness goes hand in hand with mental health, in a sense that with psychotherapy and counseling, you're getting that helping hand from another person. And then there's a point where it's almost like you want to be able to cope on your own. And I feel that that's kind of where meditation steps in. It really gives you the agency and the ability to manage when your psychotherapist can't be there or your counselor can't be there. It helps you manage day to day versus in between those sessions that you have with a counselor or psychotherapist, right? So that really gives you that ability, that empowerment to manage any stress that you might be experiencing at that time. And so I'm going to just share a screen. If I'm just going to give you a breakdown of what we're sharing today. We'll be going over some benefits of mindfulness, and then we'll go through 15 minutes of mindfulness meditation. And again, that's for all levels. So this is kind of just a few benefits of mindfulness. I hope everyone can see that. Please let me know in the chat box if you can't. But there are so much studies in the more recent years, because mindfulness has become more prevalent in so many arenas, right? We see this now in the workplace as being part of workplace culture. We see this on a daily with all the daily apps. And it starts with being able to manage stress. So studies show that mindfulness can shrink our stress center and may increase our stress reactivity threshold, to go behind the neuroscience. So that's really the fascinating thing about mindfulness. It really teaches us a lot about the brain and how it works and how we can actually rewire our brain. And so, the way that we breathe, can sometimes keep us in this stress mode. And when we learn mindfully how to breathe, we can manage that stress where we're not constantly reacting to a situation, where we can actually create separation and respond the way we want to respond to situations. And that goes hand in hand with the one next to it, resilience. This really, if you think about right now, what's happening with COVID and so many other challenges right now with everyone being in different parts of the world, and I think politically and emotionally, there's so much going on. And so how can we keep ourselves not carrying the weight of, the fear of the world and how it can be scary at times, right? And that really kind of lends to connection. Loving kindness meditations are shown to help build connection with the self and others. I have found this really helpful even in, relationships are tricky. So sometimes you'll have conflict in your life. I moved to a big city after I graduated from university, and I was very lonely. Even though there's a million people in a big city, it can be very daunting. And I found that meditation really helped in keeping me open to building relationships. And that all comes behind the scenes of what happens when you have practice of mindfulness and meditation, and that lends to happiness. So when we breathe in a certain way, we're also playing with the hormones in our body. So when we connect to breathing and gratitude, that actually helps promote serotonin, which is our happy hormone. And that's kind of where studies have shown that allows to boost happiness. Another one is clarity. And that really is building concentration and awareness. That's the kind of the heart of mindfulness. We'll learn a little bit more later about our attention span. And so thinking about when we carry stress in our body, what it actually does, it actually stops us from accessing parts of our brain that it allows for clear decisions, being able to get references and connecting with memory. And so that's why when we're stressed, sometimes it's harder to get through things. It's harder to be productive. It's harder to take in information. And so when we can manage our stress in our body, we're able to have more clarity. And then through a practice of mindfulness on a daily basis, mindfulness can be very therapeutic in helping with managing anxiety. And for me, that really comes from the ability to be more mindful with your body, and you can start to recognize when stress and anxiety starts to build before it becomes this big ball of anxiety and it's harder to manage. So mindfulness kind of gives you that proactive outlook for those beginning signs. Presence, that is big. You think about right now, I've been talking to you probably for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm sure, there's phones going off. You might be distracted by sounds in your environment. And we'll learn a little bit more about, really the statistics behind how long we can pay attention. But when you think about presence in, even working on a project or studying or whatever it may be, a lot of our time is spent being distracted. And it takes much longer. So can we show up for these projects so that they don't take so long, but also can we show up for the people around us, and can we show up for ourselves? Oftentimes we're always thinking about other people before ourselves. And so that presence helps build that connection to the self as well. And then the last one is that memory, right? Working memory is linked with attention, and mindfulness has shown to increase working memory. So those are all just a few benefits, really. Some other ones are like helping build immunity in your body. Other ones are just like finding more compassion and empathy and reducing biases in our mind. There's so many benefits. But for you as students, anyone who's students right now, this is just a study that, there's so many studies that the Boston Charter collaborator with Harvard Graduate School of Business, they did a study with a group, and the results were better attention span, better ability to cope with stress, and it also showed that there was higher performances on tests and higher grades. And so when you think about those benefits that we just touched on, like how that can create these results. And then also after, right? Either you're a graduate or either you're already in the workplace. When you think about, you know, what are companies looking for right now and how are companies being successful during this time where, you know, we're all kind of challenged with COVID and these new places, things that we've never really come across before. What people are talking about more and more is that one of the skills that they're looking for is not just that you can do your job very well, not that, like, you know, you have all the experience, it's how well you can adapt and how well you can be flexible. And that really also comes into play with your attitude. And so when you look at here, the 5 components of high flexibility, that's respect for people, confidence, empathy, tolerance, positivity. These are all kind of outcomes of mindfulness. And I really think that's really how I have been able to be, achieve adaptability or flexibility. You know, like mindfulness really helped me cope with a lot of loss in my life. And I struggled for a really long time in getting my footing, and I was able to overcome those life challenges and able to adapt to a new way of living through mindfulness. And so then I wanted just to share kind of, you know, if you're thinking about, okay, those are all interesting, I would love all those benefits, but how does that really apply to me, and does it apply to me? So these are really interesting facts about humans and the brain. We approximately have 12 to 60,000 thoughts a day. So when you think about, you know, how much you have to finish assignments, finish projects, and in between all of that, and be there for yourself and be there with your friends, in between all of that are thousands of thoughts, you know. And to think about that is that 90% of those thoughts are repeat thoughts. So it's the thoughts you thought the day before, it's the thoughts that you had the week before and the month before. And so we really work in meditation on rewiring the brain so that we don't sit in that autopilot, that we can look outside of what we've experienced so that we can notice something different, you know. Can there be a different way of solving this problem? Can we show up a little bit different for our, you know, best friend or our mother or father, the way that we used to show up for them, even for ourselves? And then to think about 80% of those thoughts are negative. And that's not there's a good and bad to that, right? Like the 80% of our thoughts are negative because it's the way it's designed to help us survive, right? So the negative thoughts are a way that we are critiquing and we're judging what we just experienced. And that helps us think about how we can do something better, how we can survive. But what studies have shown is the thoughts that we have in our head are sometimes not reality. And so when we have these negative thoughts constantly about ourselves or our situation around us, that can really affect our mental health. And so that's where we create a lens of clarity. And that's kind of what we're building in one of the benefits. That clarity is what helps us really understand what is here in the moment versus what is the story I'm creating in my head, right? And then to think about our attention span. So, you know, mindfulness and meditation is a way to cultivate and strengthen our ability to focus. And the more we can focus, the more we can show up to listening to, you know, professors, to our bosses, to our friends, to ourselves. And to think about our attention span of a human is 8 seconds. That's actually less than a fish, which is wild, right? And then when you think about how much focus do we have when we have an intentional focus, we really only are able to sit there for 20 minutes, right? So to have like those little breaks in between so that we can reset, we recenter, and then come back to the work that we need to get done, come back to the people that we're around so that we can be really present. So these are just a few benefits, a little understanding behind the neuroscience and the facts about the brain that I think will help you kind of connect to why mindfulness and meditation is so popular. And that's really why there's all these apps that are available these days. But what we're trying to offer here is actually real life coaching where you can understand that you can actually achieve in meditation. So most people who have tried meditation have either said that they've failed for the very first time or they're really bad at it. And that's actually really normal, right? Like, so when we look at these statistics, we got thousands of thoughts running through our head every second. This is going to be kind of what you'll experience if this is your first time today meditating. You'll notice that you can't stop thinking. And that is actually the part of meditation, is can you just observe? And that means you're already halfway there, because most of the time, you know, when we're working in autopilot and we're just going through our day, we don't realize that, you know, when we're washing the dishes, when we're walking to work, when we're, you know, even speaking to someone and looking at them eye to eye, we're actually somewhere else in our mind. And so can we learn how to direct our attention so we're right here? What is here in the moment? And that's really where we can be the most effective. That's where we can be the most meaningful. And that's what we're working on today. So we're going to try that for the first time. That's probably enough of me talking, and that's probably enough of you kind of being like, oh, I'm in some other, going in lots of different directions. And again, that is embracing the starting point. That's really the beauty of mindfulness, is that you have permission to fail in that way, where your brain will go in that direction, and what we'll learn is how to redirect our attention. So let's start there. We'll begin by getting in a comfortable seated position. If you feel like you've had a long day, or I know some people are in their morning and you're still kind of wanting to be in a lie down place, or you want to relax at the end of your day, feel free to get comfortable. And the only invitation here is your spine to be really long. And then we're going to start by closing our eyes or finding a soft gaze on the floor. So choose what works for you. And we're going to start to connect to the body, which is such a great starting point in noticing what is here and what our body is feeling right now. So start with the soles of the feet. Can you feel right and left soles grounded into the earth or on the floor? Can you feel the back of the thighs and the sit bones on the chair? If you're lying down, you could feel your whole back of your body sinking into whatever object is holding you up. Let your belly be soft, and encourage your shoulders to kind of roll and melt down your back. Allow your palms to just rest on your lap or on your side. Then notice any tension you might be holding on your face. Sometimes we furrow the brows or squint our eyes, or we might even clench our jaw. See if you can soften into offering relaxation here. Now, if you feel uncomfortable at all with your eyes closed or any part of this meditation, know that you can open your eyes, pause, feel back into your body, and direct yourself where you can feel comfortable. All right. From here, see if you can notice every inhale and exhale that enters the body. So you might feel the expansion of your chest and the fall of your chest with the exhale. You might even feel it in your belly. Just see if you could notice the breath, just making movement in your body. You might even notice the sound of it. So see if you could pay attention to how you notice the breath. And notice how you might already have had some distractions, sounds, or thoughts in the mind. I want you to imagine yourself with a little box on your side or a little container. And anytime you see a distraction, see if you could gently place it in that little box as a way to contain it and just come back to paying attention to the breath. We're going to start to build the breath as a way to calm our nervous system. Using a count, just follow my lead here. Take an inhale for 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And so continue breathing, counting to yourself. Notice if the breath is making you feel uncomfortable at all. If it's making you uneasy, more anxious, just let go of the breath and come back to feeling something solid in your body, something dense, and see if you could put your focus on feeling that body part. If you're still with the breath, see if you can notice the inhale and exhale travel through the whole body. So you'll feel the lungs expand to the bottom and the back of the lungs, the belly expand. And as you exhale, you're kind of sinking and grounding a little bit more into your body, into being here. And see if you can pay attention to the breath as many times as you can until this natural phenomena of you having a distraction of thought, a sound pulling you away, or maybe your phone lights up. Just notice it without any judgment and just come back to feeling your breath. And so continue inviting that awareness of breath through curiosity. So if you're with the breath, can you notice the temperature of the breath? Can you notice any textures of the breath? Can you notice all the different parts of the breath? So with the inhale, there's a little pause, and then there's the exhale, and a little pause before the inhale starts again. If you're with the body, invite the same curiosity, noticing any intricate feelings. Can you notice the different bones inside the layers of the muscles and tissues? And so we're inviting this presence of what is here and what is now, as if you were exploring a new city for the very first time. So imagine you feeling the breath for the very first time, or feeling this body for the very first time. And what will be natural is you being distracted by a thought, by a sound. And when you notice that, there's a little space, and that space gives you the ability to choose where you place your attention. And today we're choosing either the breath or either the body part. And so I'm going to let you navigate this for a couple minutes on your own. If you feel comfortable with the breath, maybe you let go of the count and just let your body flow with the natural rhythm of the breath, letting the inhale fill the body and let the exhale be a little bit longer and slower than the inhale. So as if the breath were waves moving through your body. And remember that you have that little box on your side to just place one thought. You might have a running thought, so it might be a whole story by the time you notice, and just place it in there momentarily and come back to being with yourself. And so this is really a way to catch up with the self, knowing that you're always pulled in so many different directions. We're always managing so many things at the same time. And right now, this time is for you. Nowhere else to be, nothing else to do other than be with this life force of your breath. Beginning here. Good, you're halfway there. You have another minute just trying on your own. Notice if there's any tension showing back up in your body. That's usually stress, and it's a pattern that our body has to hold that stress. See if you could soften back into that relaxed place and just try again. So that's the nice thing about meditation, is if you feel like you're lost in thought, every breath is an opportunity to simply try again. Good. And so now let go of the count if you're still counting, and just let your breath be natural here now. Feel back into the body, moving with every breath you take. And then just notice how you feel. And then come back to bringing awareness to your surroundings. You can invite gentle movement, listening to the body and what it needs, and when you're ready, opening your eyes back up to the space. And since this is our first time meditating together, just an invitation to share in one word what you're feeling now from that meditation in the chat box. Short, yeah. It's a very short meditation. It's good to practice short meditation, so that's something that we'll learn in the meditations that we'll be offering after. There's short meditations and long meditations, and both have benefits. So when you think of short meditations, they're great for in the moment when you're caught up, when you're in the middle of your day, and you need to reset. Yeah. And so we'll learn both of those as ways to cope with different type of stressors. We have someone who feels more present, more relaxed, more light. why I love short meditations as well too versus longer meditations, even though I do love longer meditations. You could really dive in a little bit deeper, is you could notice how quickly that you can shift, right? And that was probably 10 to 12 minutes of meditation. And that was how short it can be. So sometimes people get really daunted about sitting in meditation and making the time, because all of us don't have enough time for everything we want to do. And so what you'll learn is how that you can still access meditation through short amount of time and let that kind of nourish you and set the tone for your day. I want to leave some time for Cindy to talk, but before we do, we have time for a couple questions. Does anybody have questions on what they experienced, if there was any challenges, or any questions about, meditation itself and what we talked about with the benefits? If you like, you could either put it in the chat box or you could unmute and ask your question verbally.
I have something. So
Sure.
I was worried about something, and it was really hard for me to set it aside, even though I imagined the whole metaphor of putting it in a box.
Yeah.
I was still sort of worried about it.
Yeah, and that is really common. So thank you for asking that. And why I like that you share that is when we come back to the way that our brain works, right? 90% of the time, it's going to be the same thought we thought yesterday. Because when we think of something, what we do is we're strengthening a wire that we want to think about that over and over again. And so the idea is when you first start, it's going to be maybe once, maybe not even once, that you can't come back to the breath, right? Maybe you're just noticing that that's a thought, that's a running thought. The next time you do it, you might be able to create a little more space. And so the idea is the more and more that you can redirect your attention, the more it'll be easier to not think about the thing that our brain has now been conditioned to think about. And so this is the nature of our brain. Also, know that that's only one style of meditation. So what we'll learn in our different types of meditation that Cindy has provided links. So this is kind of our intro, and these are continued meditation offerings, is we're going to learn about that there's different styles of meditation. And with mindfulness, sometimes it's embodiment. I find it's more so aligning with the type of learner you are. Right? So maybe you're a visual person, maybe you're a more tactile person. And so finding something that actually, a mindfulness tool or technique that aligns with that. I hope that answers your question, Amy.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. But no, I think this was, I just want to reinforce that, you sharing that you were observing that was one thing that just kept on your mind. That's a big deal, right? Because we could often think about one thing throughout the mind, throughout the day, and we don't recognize that it consumes our whole day. And the fact that you pause to notice that, and then to notice, wait, does that live in the past? Does that live in the future? Or is it actually happening right now? That is such a big revelation, right? Is to notice, wait a second, what's consuming my mind is actually not happening right now, right? So it's a big awareness. That's huge. Anybody else have a question, concern?
This is Jane. Can I ask a question?
Of course, Jane. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. I'm pretty new to meditation, and whenever we started learning about meditation, we're always being told the benefit of meditation. I'm really curious, is there any side effect of this practice? And the other thing is, does it fit anyone, or is there something we should be cautious that some certain group of person, they should not practice meditation?
That's a great question, Jane. I think the one thing that is very common with meditation and breath, and this is why I guided you a certain way with dealing with breath, is if you've experienced something very traumatic. Sometimes people who have experienced something very traumatic, breath can be triggering. And this is where I am trauma informed with my work. So the idea is, one way of meditation is not for everybody, right? But there are a myriad of meditations, and how I aim to teach meditation is building awareness. So right away when I gave you, the cue to breathe, my invitation was, does that make you feel uncomfortable, or does it actually make you feel good, right? Or like actually help you? And so my goal in meditation and mindfulness and teaching anyone who's interested is finding what works for you. Because the idea is not to rely on an app when you need one, because in between those moments when you're frustrated with life, you're not like, hey, what do I need right now? I think also that's kind of gotten us to this point of where we're really struggling, is that we're relying on so many other people that it's great to learn and to guide us in the right direction, but in the end, it's our life that we're directing, right? It's our life that we're living. So how do we find the agency and learn the tools so that we can manage daily? Like every moment is a challenge sometimes for us, right? Everything's coming at us in so many different directions. Does that help?
So I'm wondering, like you did mention that it doesn't affect everyone. So how do we know whether I should practice it or not?
I mean, in the modern day, I would definitely say that mindfulness is something, it's a way of life, and I think anyone can benefit from it. I think what your question was asking, is there any side effects or negative effects? I wouldn't say there's any negative effects or side effects, but there are areas that you need to be wary of and how to navigate which direction you want to go with meditation. Does that make sense?
So if after the practicing, it causes some kind of negative feeling or emotion, do you recommend going for counseling or something like that?
I mean, I think counseling goes hand in hand with dealing with deeper emotions, if that is something, depending on how deep the emotion is. But the idea of meditation will open up connecting to emotions. And the idea is learning tools on how to manage what you're feeling in those emotions. And learning that awareness to notice if you need that support by other experts. Does that make sense?
So basically, I'm wondering, have you ever heard about the negative impact that caused by the meditation?
So Jane, we want to respect everyone's time. Do you mind posting this question to the chat box so Natalie you can message her privately and she can message you back. I'm just gonna move to our next section. So thank you, Natalie, and thank you for the audience for being here. I know this is just a trial and it's just a start. Many people want to keep learning meditation, mindfulness, and keep practicing it. I have sent 2 links in the chat box. One is the group meditation and the private meditation. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. So this is our website. if you click on, if you go to onehealingspace.com and go to the second tab on the navigation bar, it's meditation. And then there are two products that we are preparing for the audience today. One is group meditation. So if you click here, there are 6 sessions of 30 minutes group meditation. We will pick a time that's good for you and the entire group and the Nat, and we will form a One Healing Space group to do the meditation together. So the price of the 6 sessions are $150. If you want to buy it, you can just simply click on Add to Cart and check out on our website. If you're new to meditation and you want to have a deeper learning with Nat, we also have private meditation. If you click on this page, you will see there are 6 sessions of 15 minutes. Same thing, you can pick any time you want. It could be morning, night, or lunchtime. Any time that works for you and Nat, and then you can have this one-on-one opportunity to do meditation and learn how to do it. Yeah, of course, I can share the link again. You can go to chat box. The first link is for the group meditation. The second link is private meditation. So the private meditation, 6 sessions of 15 minutes are $175. So if you click Add to Cart and view cart, I was doing a trial, so now I have 2. So this is 6 sessions, and you click on checkout, and then you just go through this secure process, and then we will have your email address and contact information. Then we will contact you and send you the next steps where you can book private session or group sessions with Natalie. So yeah, do you guys have any questions with that? If not, I'll wait for a few minutes, and I want to say thank you for Natalie. Thank you very much for joining us and preparing this package for One Healing Space. I know many people in the audience are really interested in meditation, and as the poll, there are half of the people didn't do meditation, haven't experienced meditation before, but I'm pretty sure you have heard about the benefits of doing meditation. And also there are around 11 people who have done, but I think you guys are probably seeking to how to improve your skills. And Natalie is a very experienced expert on this. She, as she introduced, she worked with big companies like Fendi, TD, RBC. So it's really an honor for me to be able to invite Natalie today. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Cindy. It's a pleasure to be here and answer your questions. I appreciate all of them, both, you know, asking about benefits and maybe some questions about maybe disadvantages, but feel free to reach out, and I'm here to really help you on your journey. That's really my passion, is to find that overall wellness in life, right? Where there's so much going on. So how can we really learn how to carve that path for ourselves?
Yeah. So it's 7:55. We have 5 minutes left. If anyone wants to ask questions regarding the package, or you just want to hang out and learn more about One Healing Space, feel free to put your thoughts on the chat box and talk to us. If everyone is good, then we will just wait for 2 minutes. If no one's actually okay, I guess thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks,
everyone.
Really like
the background, like it's like Joy said, it's so lively. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night. Okay.
Bye.